Hello everyone, welcome back to the session of English. In this session of English grammar, we are going to continue with our chapter determiners. Now this is part 11 of determiners. Till now, we have already covered 10 sessions on determiners. This is part number 11. So let's begin this session. First of all, we'll go through what topics we are going to discuss in this session. Well, in this session, we will discuss the following topics. First of all, we'll cover the uses of little. It means we'll cover the uses of little, in fact, the determinant little entirely. Okay, it means there are various forms of little, that is little, little, the little. All the forms we are going to discuss in this session. After that, we'll discuss the uses of few, and that means few, few, and the few. So entirely, we are going to cover these two determiners. Okay, so let's begin this session. So this is concept number 21 that we are going to discuss. This is little and few. Little and few can indeed be used in forms you mentioned, that is little, little, and the little. When we talk about little, it does not mean little, but it means little, then a little, or the variations of this word little or determiner little, and then the little. Now, first thing that we should keep in mind that here little means the quantity or amount of something. Okay, when we are measuring the amount of something, that is called little. Okay, however, little means very small as well, but here we are not using little for the word small or for the synonym small, but we are showing the small amount of something, that is little. Okay, and after that a little, and after that the little. On the other hand, we'll discuss another form, that is few, then a few, and then the few. Okay, so we discussed these three as well. Now, these two, this little, a little, or the little, it is used basically with uncountable nouns. It means whenever we talk about uncountable nouns, we use little, a little, or the little, any of these. Okay, whereas when we talk about countable nouns, we use few, a few, or the few. Okay, so we use few, a few, the few with countable nouns, whereas with uncountable nouns, we use little, a little, or the little as per the requirement of the context. Uncountable nouns are those nouns which we cannot count in terms of 1, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, for example, if we talk about water, milk, we cannot count them because we cannot say that 1 water, 2 water, 3 water. No, instead we can say 1 liters of water, 2 liters of water, and so on. Similarly, for the word milk. Okay, so with uncountable nouns, we use little, a little, or the little as per the requirement, and uncountable nouns are those nouns which cannot be counted in terms of 1, 2, 3, and so on. Whereas if we talk about countable nouns, they can be counted in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. For example, if I say 2 chairs, of course I can count them 1 chair, 2 chair. Okay, so we can count the chairs, we can count the persons, we can count the people, we can count the students, we can count the pen. There are many things which we can count in terms of 1, 2, 3. For example, girls, boys, and so on. So with them, we can use few, a few, and the few. And when we have noun which are uncountable, we have to use little, a little, or the little as per the usage of these words. Okay. Now, what is the difference between countable and uncountable noun? This we have already covered in the chapter of noun. Okay, in detail. For example, if I talk about stars, stars are countable because I can count them. I can say that there are 7 stars in Saptarishi or Ursa Major. Okay, so like this, we can elaborate them, or we can divide them in terms of 1, 2, 3, and so on. So that is a countable noun, or those type of nouns are known as countable nouns, which we can count in terms of 1, 2, 3, and 4. So little, a little, the little for uncountable nouns. So you can see over here, this is clearly written that little, a little, and the little we are using for uncountable noun, whereas few, a few, and the few, they are used for countable nouns. Okay, so this is clear from here. The difference between few and little, first of all, that the difference between these two words is that little is used before uncountable nouns, whereas few is used before countable nouns. So this is the fundamental difference between the two determiners. Okay, now how do we use them, and what is the meaning of these three different phrases, that is little, a little, and the little. Why do we use a little, why do we use the little, or why do we use little alone? Well, there is a concept behind this. Now let me explain you that. So here, first of all, little, a little, the little for uncountable nouns. Now, what is the actual meaning of little, a little, the little? Let me explain you this with the example of a story. Okay. So let me tell you this story. Suppose there is a person and he's very, very hungry. Okay. And he is in an area where he cannot find food anywhere. Okay. Now he's just roaming around in that area, and he's in want of food. Okay, but he's not getting anything anywhere. One You can say in a particular area, he found some nuts. Okay, now he ate them all, but those nuts were few. It means those nuts were, you can say, only one or two nuts. Obviously, if a man is very, very hungry, those two nuts will not work. Okay, it will be somewhere like cumin seed in the mouth of a camel. Okay, so that will be just like that. Okay, so that will not work, obviously. So he just ate two nuts, and but he is still very, very hungry. Now what happens? He went to a person's home, his friend's home. There he found that his friend is alone, and his friend served him a cup of tea and some biscuits and other snacks. But those were also very few. It means those were few, or you can say a few. Okay. It means when he ate them, he was able to at least satisfy a little hunger of him. So those snacks, they did not work, but obviously they did not satisfy him completely, but at least satisfied him up to a particular extent. It means now he can feel comfortable, and now he is feeling easy that he can tolerate his hunger. Okay, so this is the second part, or the second phase. So in the first phase, we saw that he was insatiable, or he was not satisfied by, so because those two nuts did not work for him. Okay, they were equivalent to zero. In the second phase, we found that he got some snacks which at least made him comfortable or satisfied. Okay, a little satisfied. After that, he went home, and when he went home, he found that his wife has prepared a delicious meal for him, and he ate it completely, and he really was fully satisfied. Okay, after having that. So that was the few, though it was not large, but it was few for him. Okay, it was the few for him. Why so? Because it was enough or sufficient for him. Okay, so that is few, few, or the few. On the other hand, we talk about the word little, a little, the little. It is used for uncountable nouns. For example, if somebody is very, very thirsty. Okay, for example, you must have heard the story of the crow. And the crow went around. He was just flying, but he did not find water anywhere. And somewhere he found a drop of water which was not sufficient. So that was little, because it was insufficient for him, or it was equivalent to zero. That did not work. After that, he just roamed around, and when he saw the pot, there he poured these stones in the pot, and the water came up, or emerged out, and he was able to quench his thirst. Okay, so this is how he has quenched his thirst with that little water. But that was the little water. Why so? Because it was enough for him. Okay, so this is the basic difference between little, a little, and the little. A little means equivalent to zero, a little means some, and the little means though less, but it is sufficient or enough as per the requirement. Okay, so let us discuss these three concepts over here. Little implies a small amount, often with a negative connotation. Negative connotation, why so? Because whatever amount is there, it is just equivalent to zero. The presence of which does not matter at all. Okay, suggesting that the amount is less than desired or expected. Okay, and it is just equivalent to zero. Why so? You can say it is equivalent to zero. Why so? Suppose there is because suppose you are feeling thirsty, okay, and you only a drop of water. That will not work for you. In fact, it will you can say it will boost your thirst. Okay, so that is little water for you. Why so? Because that is not sufficient. Even it did not work at all. Okay, so for example, there is little hope of success. It means there is no hope of success. So if I'm saying little hope, it means no hope. Okay, now let us move to the next one. Here we have a phrase a little, refers to some amount, though not a lot, but generally more positive. Or you can say it is in a positive phase where you get something which is a little means some. Okay, so here a little means some. We have a little time before the meeting starts. It means before the meeting starts, we have some time to discuss for it. Okay, now let us move to the next one. The little indicates a specific limited amount, often with emphasis on its sufficiency. It means though it is little or though it is less, but it is sufficient as per the requirement. For example, though you have, suppose you need money, though you have only 5 lakhs of rupees, but they are enough for the course you want to do. That is sufficient or the little. Okay, the sufficient amount. For example, suppose you are very hungry and you eat only two chapatis a time. Okay, and or you only have two chapatis in the meal. Now, though the quantity of this meal is very low or is very less, but it is enough for you because you don't eat beyond that, okay, or more than that. That is why that is enough for you. That is why we can use the little for some small quantity of something, but it is enough or sufficient. So we can use this phrase, that is the little. Okay. For example, the little money he had was spent on essentials. So the little money he had, it means though he was less amount of money, but whatever he had, he spent them on essentials. Okay. Now let us move to the next one. Few, a few, and the few. So as we have read little, a little, and the little, likewise is the meaning of few, a few, and the few. Few implies a small number, usually less than expected or wished for, often carrying a negative implication. Example, few people attended the event. Now let us move to the next one. That is a few, refers to some but not a large number. It is more positive. Okay, few means which is equivalent to zero, but a few means some. Okay, refers to some but not a large number. It does not used for the large number of something, but it is more positive. Why so? It is used in the positive sense. For example, you went to a bookstore with only rupees 10 and the book which you required was of rupees 1000. Now obviously your 10 rupees will not work. They will be few against that book or in front of that book, because the book you want or you require is rupees 1000 and you have only 10 rupees, that you cannot even show to the shopkeeper that I have some, because having them or the or not having them does not matter at all. Okay, if you have them, it is of no use. Okay, so it is refers to equivalent to zero, then it is few. Okay, now you went to another shop where you got some notes or some previous year notes which you got for the rupees 15, but you have only 10 rupees. However, you can show your amount because that shows the positive difference between the two. Okay, for example, now you can show to the shopkeeper, yes, I have 10 rupees. It means 5 rupees are shortage, but that is not a big amount as compared to 10 and 1000 difference. Okay, so here you can even show the note to the shopkeeper that yes, I have some. So that is a few because it is used in the some context. Now suppose you went to another shop of the newspaper and you went there and you got the newspaper of rupees 10. Now, proudly or confidently, you will show that 10 rupees or give the 10 rupees to the shopkeeper and take the newspaper by saying, okay, it is fine, and you will pay the 10 rupees. Why so? Because now the amount that you paid him was sufficient as per his requirement and your requirement. Okay, so that is sufficient, though it is less in number, but it is sufficient for the usage. Okay, so that is a few. There are a few cookies left in the jar. So a few means some cookies. Now let us move to the next one. The few specifies a particular small number, often emphasizing how limited the number is. It shows sufficient though less. When we use the few, it means though we have less, but it is sufficient, as we did in case of 10 rupee note for the money for the newspaper, which was again 10 rupees. Okay, the few friends he had were very loyal. It means though he has a little number of friends or a less number of friends, but whatever whosoever is his friend, he's very loyal. Okay, now we'll discuss little along with the preposition of. When little or few is used with of, typically requires the presence of a determiner before the noun. These determiners can include articles like the, possessive case like in my, demonstrative like in this, and others. This structure is common when referring to a specific subset of item or quantity. For example, we can say little of plus determiner plus noun. Example, she understood little of the material covered in this lecture. Okay, so she understood little of the material. It means whatever material has been covered over today, it was not understood to she. Why so? Because maybe possible for any reason she did not or she was not able to understand what is mentioned over there. Okay, so she understood will be the positive part over here. We cannot use double negatives together because few and little, both of these are negative words. Okay, so we should keep in mind while using these two words in our speech. Here, the material is a specific set of information and little of refers to a small amount of it. Now, let us move to the next one. We'll discuss the concept of few of. Now, we'll discuss the phrase few of. Few of plus determiner plus noun. Example, for a few of the students had completed the assignment on time. This means the students refers to a specific group, and a few of indicates that a smaller number or no student from this group had completed the assignment. Now let us move to the next one. That is few of. Little and few inherently convey a negative meaning because they refer to a small amount for uncountable nouns with little or a small number for countable nouns with few. Because of their negative connotation, when these words used in a sentence, additional negative words like not are typically not necessary. Using an additional negative word create a double negative which usually is not intended which is not the intended meaning. Examples with little. The correct sentence is she has little interest in sports. Okay, little interest means no interest, indicating amount of interest. Okay, incorrect. She does not have little interest in sports. The double negative would imply that she does not have interest, which contradicts the intended meaning. So she doesn't have little interest. That is incorrect. We can either say she doesn't have interest or she has little interest in sports. Okay, so we can use these two sentences like this. Now let us move to the next one. With few, correct, few people attended the meeting, indicating a small number which is not as per the requirement attended. Incorrect, not few people attended the meeting. The double negative would suggest that many people attended, which is opposite of the intended meaning. Using little or few in a sentence effectively communicates a lack of scarcity, and adding an additional negative word can unintentionally reverse the intended meaning. Okay, now let us move to the next one. Now, variant 2 can be used with few and little to modify this degree, but they serve different purposes. For example, very few and little. When very is used with few or little, it intensifies the meaning, emphasizing the smallness of quantity or number, but without necessarily implying that this smallness is a problem. Examples: there were very few people at the concert, emphasizes that the number of people was even smaller than few. Okay, alone would imply. Very little, she had very little time to prepare for the exam, indicates that the amount of time was even smaller than the little one, alone would suggest. Now, two plus few plus little, or two plus few or little. Two combined with few or little suggests that the smallness of the amount or number is problematic or insufficient for a particular need or purpose. For example, too few, there are too few doctors in the rural areas, implies that the number of doctors is insufficient for the need. Okay. Too little, he paid too little attention to his health, suggests that amount of attention we paid was not enough and this is a problem. Okay. Now, two plus few plus little, two plus few or little. A little and a few are generally used in positive context or statements. Unlike little and few, which often have negative connotation by implying a smaller amount or number than desired, a little and a few suggest a small quantity or amount or number, but it is more neutral or slightly positive light. They indicate that while the quantity may be small, it is still appreciable or sufficient for some purpose. Okay. Now, a little used with uncountable nouns. Example, we have a little time before the train departs. Okay, a little means a small quantity of time. This suggests that while there isn't a lot of time, there is enough to be noticeable or useful. A few used with countable nouns. Example, there are a few cookies left in the jar. This implies that even though many cookies are left, there are still some available. Little and few are determiners and can be used with nouns as nouns that follow linking verbs such as is, are, was, and were. In such constructions, they help describe the subject of the sentence by quantifying the noun that follows the verb. These determiners are typically used to indicate a small amount in the case of little or uncountable nouns, or a small number in the case of few for countable nouns. Examples with little. So this is uncountable noun with is and are. There is little water left in the bottle. There are little enthusiasm and support of the new policy, or support for the new policy. Now with was and were, there was little reason to doubt his sincerity. It means there is some doubt. There is something which makes me in doubt for his sincerity. Okay. There were little evidence and a few witnesses to support the case. Now let us move to the next one. We'll discuss the uses of is and are. Examples with few countable nouns. We basically use plural form of a noun with it. Okay. There are few opportunities in this field. There are a few people who understand quantum mechanics. Now let us move to the next one. Was and were. There were few cars on the road early in the morning. There were few participants at the seminar. Okay. So here also we can use the was and were according to show the use according to the things which we have already discussed earlier. Now let us move to the next one. Little. When little is used as a determiner at the beginning of sentence, it can lead to inverted structure, inverted sentence structure, inversion with little plus auxiliary verb plus subject. Now whenever we uses the adverbs like unlike, like, until, scarcely, hardly, barely, no sooner, whenever we begin the words with these conjunctions, what we do, we follow the negative rule of inversion. Okay, or the rule of inversion. Whereas in this case, we can simply say that with little, we can also use auxiliary verb plus subject. Okay, so before subject, we need to apply indefinite pronoun. Okay, so that is auxiliary verb. Okay, sorry, indefinite verb, that is auxiliary verb, which is used just after the word little. Little simple examples. Regular, little did he know about the consequences. And inverted, did he know little about the consequences? So here we can use the word little directly, which is related to the items we are referring to. Now let us move to the next one. Little or more complex example. Regular, little can they understand the complexities of this promotion? Inverted, can they understand little of the completeness of this problem? Now let us move to the next one. Now we'll discuss the word little again. We'll discuss further the part little. Little, a little, and a little bit can be used with adjectives and adverbs in variety of context. Not just comparative degrees, they adjust the intensity or degree of what is being described, regardless of whether it is a comparative or simple descriptive form. Little as an adverb. When little is used as an adverb, it generally means barely or not much. It is typically used to diminish the extent of the degree of the verb. Adjective or adverb it modifies. However, it is not restricted to comparative degrees. A little as an adverb. A little implies to a small extent, slightly or somewhat. It is used to modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs, providing a sense of a small but noticeable degree. Again, it is not limited to comparative degrees. A little bit as an adverb, similar to a little bit, suggests a slight degree or extent. It can modify verbs, adjectives, or adverbs. Now let us have some examples of little and a little. Little, she was little interested in the movie. It means not much interested, or she was not interested in the movie. A little, the book is little expensive, slightly expensive, not comparative. Okay. A little bit, he's a little bit taller than his sister. It means slightly taller here in the comparative, but not exclusively. Okay, now we'll discuss comparative degree. When used with comparatives, these adverbs do indeed modify the degree. For example, a little better, okay, a little faster. However, this usage is not restricted to comparative forms. They can be used to modify any degree of adjective or adverb to suggest a slight increase or decrease in the quantity or action they describe. Now, another concept is this, that, these, those. So here we'll discuss the uses of this, that, these, those. Demonstrative determiners are the words that are used to point out or indicate specific things of people. They are essential in English language for specifying particular items in relation to their physical or psychological proximity of the speaker. The meaning they convey is generally related to the distance closeness for the object to one person before being referred to, or either in a literal physical sense or in a more abstract figurative sense. Now, types of demonstrative determiners. These are 4 types of primary demonstrative determiners in English. One is this, used to indicate a singular noun that is closer to the speaker. This book is mine, the book is near the shopkeeper. Sorry, the book is near the speaker. Okay. Now let us move to the next one. These, the plural forms of this, used to indicate plural nouns that are close to the speaker. Okay, these apples are fresh. The apples are near the speaker. Okay, so we can say these apples. Okay, so the apples are near the speaker, not the shopkeeper. That used to indicate a singular noun that is farther from the speaker. The mountain's peak is high. Those refers to the plural form of that, used to indicate plural nouns that are farther from the speaker. Example: the house are old. The house are not near the speaker. This that points to while often used to refer to a physical proximity. This for near that for far, these determiners can also signify emotional or psychological closeness or distance. For example, I don't want to talk about the day implies a psychological distance from the day in question. Now, the next one is contextual flexibility. The cause of these determiners can depend on the context. For instance, in a photograph, a speaker might use this to refer to someone close to them emotionally, even if the person is physically far away from the picture. Now, what you can do, you can use this words this that these those in the context of using when suppose something is near to you and it is singular, we can use this. But if the things or the persons which you are going to qualify, if they are more than two in the person, you can use you cannot use various facilities. So this is the same thing as it is. Now, demonstrative pronouns versus determiners. Demonstrative pronouns versus determiners. It is important to distinguish between demonstrative pronouns and determiners when this, that, these, those are used to replace a noun. They are pronouns. When they modify a noun, they are determiners. For example, this is beautiful. This is a pronoun versus this painting is beautiful. So painting is noun, whereas this is adjective. Okay, or the determiner. This is a determiner. Now, demonstrative pronouns versus determiners. Demonstrative pronouns are commonly used to refer to things. They can also refer to people in certain contexts, such as introductions or when indicating a group of people. When this, that, these, those are used as pronouns, they often refer to things, objects, or ideas, not people. For example, I don't like this. Referring to a situation, object, or idea, not a person, can you see those likely referring to objects in the distance? Referring to people in a specific context, while it is less common, these words can refer to people in certain context. For example, introducing people in introductions, this or that can be used for the people. For example, this is John, that is my friend Shah. Okay. Referring to people in a group of or at a distance. In some cases, these or those might be used to refer a group of people, particularly when the people are physically distant or being discussed in the abstract. Those are my friends over there. Contextual interpretation. The key to understand whether these demonstrative pronouns refer to people or things in context. The surrounding conversation of this situation usually makes it clear what or whom the speaker is referring to. Now, cultural and conversational nuances or the differences. Cultural and conversational nuances. It is important to note that in some cultures or conversational context, directly referring to people with this, that, these, those might be considered impolite or too casual. It is always good to be aware of these nuances in communication. When that or those are used in comparative or positive sentences, they often refer back to a thing, situation, or idea that has already been mentioned or is understood in the context of the conversation. This usage is especially common in comparative structures to draw a distinction between something mentioned, either something is being introduced. Comparative degree. Example, the weather today is nice than that of yesterday. In the sentence, that refers back to the weather, but specifically of what weather it is not known. Okay. A positive degree. Example, I prefer this design so that. Here, that refers to another design previously mentioned in or other understood in the conversation. For example, that or those serve as pronouns that these people are previously replace a previously mentioned noun, helping to avoid repetition and make the sentences more concise. They link the current statement to prior information, ensuring the conversion flows logically and clearly. Those plus who is a phrase commonly used for refer to people, often in general or broad sense. Broad sense. This construction is typically used to introduce characteristic, condition, or action that implies to certain group of people. Generally, statement or observations. Those who study hard tend to succeed. This sentence generalizes that people who put effort into studying usually achieve success. Advice recommendations. Those who seek peace should practice patience. Here the phrase gives advice that is patience. That patience is important for people desiring peace. Rules for conditions. Those who arrive late will not be allowed entry. Okay, so here is a condition for those who will arrive late. There will not be entry. Okay. In this case, it is specifying a rule or condition applicable to a particular group arriving late. Philosophical or reflective statements. Philosophical or reflective statements are those who forget the past and condemn to repeat it. This is more reflective or philosophical use of this phrase, suggesting a general truth about human behavior. Okay. In each of these examples, those who is a way to refer to people with a specific trait of behavior. It is usual construction for making generalizations, giving advice, setting rules, or reflecting on human nature. Now, present conditions, the use of this, that, these, those in relation of time, present, future, and past is generally correct. This, these, present or future form, this and these are often used to refer to things or situations that are current or immediate. For example, the situation is getting complicated refers to a present scenario. They can also refer to events or situations in the near future, especially when the speaker is discouraging plans or expectations. A speaker is discussing plans or expectations. For example, these upcoming events will be important. Okay, so here how we can use this word. That and those past or distant future past conditions and those are frequently used to refer to things, situations, or times that are in the past or distance from the current perspective. For example, that was a great party refers to a past event. Distant future, less commonly, they can also be used for things in distant future or distant terms of planning or expectation. Those days will come, but not anytime soon. So that's all for today. We have learned various concepts regarding determiners in this session. I hope this much is clear to you. And if you want to learn more determiners, stay connected with me. Till then, thanks to you.